There are some men who don't chase. They don't flatter. They barely raise their voice or lift a finger. Yet somehow, they live in a woman's head. Quietly. Permanently. Why? Because they understand something that most men miss. It's not always about how you look or what you say. It's how you frame her experience when she's around you. And one of the most overlooked weapons in masculine communication is this: the right name. Not the usual soft fluff like babe or honey. Those are hand-me-down words that lost their weight. I'm talking about words that slip past her mind and land directly in her emotional body. Words that create curiosity, that build tension, that define her when she's around you. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 powerful nicknames, each one designed to bypass her logic and speak straight to her instincts. Used properly, they build attraction, mystery, and emotional pull without trying too hard. And most importantly, they do it without making you look like you're chasing. Let's get into it. The first name, chaos. You ever sit across from a woman who seems to command the entire room without trying? Not because she's loud or dramatic, but because her energy shifts the atmosphere. Like the way fire doesn't ask permission to burn. You feel it the second she enters. She laughs too easily, says something bold with a little edge, and in that moment, you realize she doesn't follow the script most people follow. She disrupts it. That's chaos. And most men either chase it blindly or try to contain it. But the man who sees it for what it is and doesn't flinch, that man stands apart. When you call a woman chaos, you're not trying to flatter her. You're not playing a game. You're naming the truth in a way that holds presence. You're saying, I see the way you stir the water. I see the fire behind your smile. And I'm not running from it. There's power in naming something without trying to fix it. When a man has enough inner stillness, he can look directly at intensity and meet it with calm. That's what she feels. And it unsettles her in a way that draws her in. Most men crumble under that kind of pressure. They either start performing, trying to impress her, or they back away, afraid of her unpredictability. But when you call her chaos, you do something different. You reflect her nature back to her without judgment. It's like watching a storm roll in, and instead of shutting the windows, you pour a glass of wine and sit by the door. That confidence, that stillness, is rare. And women notice rare things. I remember a night years ago. She was spinning in circles, dancing barefoot in the middle of a living room while everyone else watched like she was from another planet. She looked over at me, waiting to see how I'd react. I didn't clap. I didn't gawk. I just smiled and said, "You're absolute chaos. You know that?" And she stopped. Not because she was offended, but because she felt seen. Not for her looks, not for her performance, but for the effect she had. She liked that I didn't try to catch her, only noticed how she moved through the space. And that was enough. That's what this nickname does. It lets her feel the electricity she naturally brings while you remain grounded. It's not a test. It's not a trick. It's just a moment of masculine awareness meeting feminine intensity. No chase, no control, just presence. The second name, Heartbreaker. There's a quiet kind of power in looking at a beautiful woman and calling her Heartbreaker, not with sarcasm, not with bitterness, but with calm recognition. You're not calling her dangerous in a way that begs for sympathy. You're saying it like a man who's seen the pattern before. Like someone who knows how this goes, but isn't afraid to lean into it anyway. That's where the difference lies. Most men hand over their balance the second they feel a woman's attention. They try to impress, to entertain, to buy time inside her mind. But when you say Heartbreaker with poise, it's not an act of surrender. It's a mirror. You're holding up something she rarely sees, her own effect on the world, reflected back with steadiness. You're not crumbling in her presence. You're cataloging the way she moves, the way her eyes shift when she realizes you're not falling into the rhythm she's used to. It unsettles her in a good way, because what you're doing, really, is removing the script. You're stepping outside the usual dance of approval and attention. That nickname, said in the right tone, breaks the autopilot. She's no longer just admired. She's being studied. And make no mistake, women can feel the difference. The man who calls her Heartbreaker with real presence doesn't sound like the others. He doesn't rush. He doesn't flinch when the silence stretches. There's a stillness in him, an unshakable calm that says, I've seen women like you before, and I'm not afraid to see you clearly. That kind of man becomes a question in her mind. Because when she can't predict your angle, when she's not sure whether you're teasing or testing or simply observing, you become the thing she can't categorize. The truth is, the word heartbreaker isn't even the point. It's the energy behind it. If you say it like a boy, trying to get a reaction, she'll feel it and dismiss you. But if you say it like a man who's fully centered, who speaks with intention and watches more than he explains, you plant a different kind of seed. One that grows not from admiration, but from curiosity. And curiosity is what lingers long after attention fades. Most men chase moments. A Stoic man builds impressions that echo. That nickname, used right, becomes an echo she can't ignore. The final name, Muse. There's something rare about the kind of woman who earns the name Muse. It's not about her beauty alone. Plenty of women are beautiful. That's not hard to find anymore. But a muse moves something deeper in you. She doesn't just turn heads in a room. She makes your thoughts move in directions they haven't moved before. She says one sentence and it sits with you for hours, not because it was poetic or rehearsed, but because it struck a nerve that had been quiet until that moment. She becomes part of your mental space, not in an obsessive way, but like a scent you remember from childhood. Familiar, unexplainable, impossible to fake. You can't call every woman Muse. That word holds a weight that demands reverence, but not worship. It's not a pedestal. It's a mirror. It shows you who you are when you're in her presence. And if you're a man who's done the work to know his own silence, then you feel the difference instantly. The room doesn't get louder. It gets quieter. Your mind doesn't race. It becomes still. And that stillness becomes creative, productive, focused. She doesn't distract you. She activates something ancient in you. That ability to feel and still remain grounded. To appreciate without losing your edge. When you speak to her, and you say it, you're kind of a muse, aren't you? You don't say it like a poet craving validation. You say it like a man who has seen enough of the world to know the difference between temporary attraction and rare inspiration. The tone matters. No smile, no over-explaining, just calm recognition, like you're stating a quiet truth that doesn't need approval. And she feels that. She hears what you didn't say, that she moved a man who does not get moved easily. Psychology tells us that people remember how we make them feel, not what we say. When you call her Muse, you're not labeling her. You're showing her the effect she has on someone who is otherwise unmoved by the noise of the world. And whether she admits it or not, every woman wants to know she can stir something in a man who doesn't chase, who doesn't fold, who doesn't seek. A man who simply sees. And that's the difference. That's what stays. Conclusion. Most men are taught to chase with words, but the ones who leave a lasting impact, they speak with presence. In this video, you've learned that names like trouble, chaos, and muse aren't just clever lines. They're reflections of who she becomes when she's in your space. But here's the truth, those names only work if you've done the work on yourself. Because if your energy is scattered, if your mind is noisy, if your emotions control you, no phrase will make her feel safe, drawn, or intrigued. You are the frame, the stillness, the reason the words carry weight. So take this seriously. Build the foundation. Own your presence. Speak with clarity and calm. That's what makes a woman stop and feel something she didn't see coming. If that speaks to you, if you're done with surface-level advice and ready for something real, subscribe to Stoic 95 and tap the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this channel is where masculine calm meets emotional power, and the right woman always feels the difference.